Hi, welcome to Travels in Pigland. It's good to see you. In this episode, we're going to look at the troubled times of the 1700s in Scotland. Two rebellions against the British government, Bonnie Prince Charlie, and we're going to look at the fortunes of the Murray family who became the Dukes of Atholl. And while we're here, we're going to look at the gorgeous, unspoiled chapel of Tullybardine. So stay with us, I'll show you how to get here and all the rest of it. So stick with us and I'll see you later. Here's a map of Scotland and you can see the marker. It's in central Scotland and that's where we are. I'll show you more detail in a minute. This is the same view that people get from Gleneagles golf course. Here's a close-up. We have the town of Auchterarder and you can see the marker pretty close by. This is the A9 coming from Glasgow towards Perth. Here's the turn-off for Auchterarder. So we've come off the main A9 from Glasgow and we're just coming into Auchterarder and we're going to take a left turn pretty quickly, so I'll show you the signpost. So this is the turn-off you want to take for Tullybardine Chapel. Go through a tiny place called Muirton, keep on the same road, and when you see this signpost, turn to the right. And here we are, there's the signpost for Tullybardine Chapel, and it's just down that track. This is Tullybardine Chapel, built in the 1440s by David Murray. We'll hear a bit more about the Murray family. Anyway, it's set in gorgeous farmland. And here we are, here's the gate into Tullybardine Chapel. Tullybardine Chapel's a gorgeous place. You wouldn't really believe it was so old. Originally built in about the 1440s. And kind of remodelled a bit round about 1500, and it's remained the same ever since. It's one of the only unspoiled pre-Reformation chapels in Scotland. What a lovely place. It's very peaceful. Well, it was peaceful till Sammy arrived. And Sammy likes to do the groundwork. So I came to Tullybardine Chapel a few days ago to talk about the channel, and it was a kind of peaceful place. I'd forgotten about this place. I'd been here years and years ago. So I came and I did the piece and looked around, took a few shots, and then I went home and started to dig a little bit into the history of the place. It's actually, there's a good story here. So we'll go inside, I'll have a look at the place itself, and then I'll tell you the story of the Murray family. This little feature here is called an ombry, and it was used for keeping like holy water and things like that. These are some of the original mason's marks to show who did the work. These are a testimony to the people who built this place all those years ago. So Tullybardine Chapel then was in the Murray family since the 1440s when they established this place. Later on in history there's a story about a family with divided loyalties, and I'll tell you about it. The general who was successful for Bonnie Prince Charlie in the 45 rebellion, Lord George Murray, after Culloden, the Battle of Culloden, George Murray went off to Europe and was in exile for the rest of his life. But his father, so George Murray, Bonnie Prince Charlie's main general, his father was the first Duke of Atholl, and he'd been made that in 1703 for his support of the king down south and the forthcoming union of the crowns. So there was the father had opposing beliefs to the son, who eventually was exiled for what he'd done, and two of his sons became prominent in the British military. One, Murray, became a general, and the other one became an admiral. So the family was divided between the father, the grandson, and these two illustrious boys. But what I did find out, which I found quite heartwarming, was that afterwards they actually kept up secret messages and secret liaisons, and they had a whole code system worked out and sent messages to each other and were actually very warm. So behind the scenes there was a lot going on. Anyway, I thought I'd tell you that and just show you a little bit more of this place, because it's brilliant, and as usual I'm the only one here. Anyway, thanks for watching this. I'll see you in a bit. This is amazing. That's the original roof. It's just incredible. So, Lord George Murray was born at Huntingtower Castle, and but this was a major place for the family. They had a castle here at Tullybardine, and they built this wonderful chapel in the 1440s. Now, George Murray had actually been in the British Army in the 1715 and had fought for the Hanovers. But in the 1740s, when he was about 50 odd, he joined Prince Charles Edward Stuart when he arrived from France, and became the general of the uprising, and was very, very successful. He was an amazing general. He won the Battle of Prestonpans and was hugely influential. Unfortunately, Charles didn't always agree with his methods, and Charles had obviously, he had designs on London and the throne of Britain. He went off too early, and he wasn't prepared. And George Murray knew this, and they fell out, and Murray resigned. And basically afterwards it was a disaster. Culloden came next, and that was basically the end of the uprising. George Murray went into exile. Charles went back to France, Italy, I believe. He died in Italy. And the whole thing fizzled out. Could have been massively different if George Murray and Charles hadn't disagreed, and if Charles had listened to George Murray, he'd have probably won that campaign and possibly the throne. Anyway, it's a fine story and it's a wonderful place. I'll show you around a little bit more. So Tullybardine Chapel was the resting place of the Murrays for hundreds of years. Right up until the 20th century, there were people interred in here. But getting back to my story about Lord George Murray in the 1740s and stuff, him and his wife buried their daughter here in Tullybardine Chapel. I think she died of smallpox. George's brother William fought in the 1715 and the 45, I believe, and he was executed in the Tower of London. Interesting times. A family at war, eh? What an amazing place. You'll have to come along. So, we're now into the new season, and I'm really enjoying it. We've done about 3 or 4 videos, a couple to come, some good plans in the future, and thankfully a few more subscribers and a few more views. I really appreciate as well the comments that you send. Some of them are really good, so please keep them coming in, and I will reply to everything that I can. Okay, so in the meantime, look after yourselves, take care, and I'll see you later.